that we have to go to a higher order than this. We can't use reason on somebody that's not valuing reason in the decision process. You would have, if you really want to have reason.
I do value reason. It's just.
Welcome to the Non-Sequitur Show. Continual watching beyond this point may result in terminal face palming and a complete loss of wokeness. You have been warned.
Welcome to an impromptu Non-Sequitur Show. This is going to be a very short episode, kind of, sort of. And I apologize for the technical difficulties I had earlier. I don't know. I'll figure it out. I really have no idea. I thought I had it figured out, but lo and behold, I didn't. So for those of you that were over there trying to help me with it, I appreciate it. For those that were mocking my technical inexperience, I guess, my inability to do basic stuff that flat earthers seem to be able to do. I'm cool with that. It's okay. I do want to get the chat going here. So let me just get that and then we'll get started. So I just got to copy paste. This is how I do know how to do this. I was just using different software I hadn't used before. I haven't used before. I haven't used in a long time, I should say, because I definitely used it before. It's been a long while. And I haven't used the way I was doing it before. So anyways, welcome out there. We got Tal Software, we got TP Seeker, and it's Frida, and Floyd FPO. I was just talking about you the other day, and I'll tell you about in a second. So Floyd says, so the channel has a non-belief that isn't a non-belief channel. You're caught in a vicious circularity. Checkmate, Steve. Yeah, it's funny because, I've been diving a little bit back into getting back into arguing against preceptors, and I've found out again just how infuriating it really is to try to explain to a preceptor how bad their epistemology really is, because it's bad. It is just bad. And I had told people, I said, look, back in the day, it was myself, Ozymandias, Dr. Michael Jones, Floyd FP, and other people that would explain to the people why precept argumentation is so flawed. And so when people are like, well, how do you, show that precept is flawed? We'll go back and watch the thousands of times we've had discussions on this, going back to the Google Plus Hangout days, right, Floyd? I mean, this is something that has been around for a very, very long time. This is not new to the scene. Matter of fact, precept kind of died out there for a while, and I certainly don't think it's making a resurgence by any means, but I definitely think that there's some people still trying to utilize it, not recognizing how bad of apologetics it is, because precept argumentation, at least as far as the online version especially, is not meant to evangelize Christianity. It's not meant to even justify Christianity. What it's meant to do is, quote, shut the mouth of the unbeliever, which is Bonson's quote. I mean, it's made to basically just run sophistic type script. And even though, it's funny, and I'm going to get some flack for this, and then I'll get into the topic of the discussion, but I have no problem with people running script if the script is based upon some kind of adequate understanding of the topic, and they've just done it so many times that of course you're going to get the same responses to the very similar questions, and people want to call that running script. Okay, so what? I don't care about that. It's when you have dishonest people like Darth Dawkins trying to run script where he basically runs so many things that are contradictory with each other that you could prove anything, like through the principle explosion. He literally is a walking case of principle explosion. And so that kind of argumentation for a script I find dishonest. But if you're just going by a form in your head, basically you're like, well, if this person's answered this, and I'm going to argue this because it's so similar to everything you've ever done on the topic, I don't have a problem with that. Running script is not dishonest. And this came up recently, and I'm like, I don't believe at all running script is dishonest. Running script is dishonest when you're running dishonest argumentation. There's a big difference there, right? So like Darth Dawkins' former script is absolutely dishonest because no matter what you say, he's going to run some kind of contradiction. It's not like a bifurcation where if somebody answers yes or no, you kind of know where you want to go with it. It doesn't matter what you answer. He's going to have something that just shuts down the conversation, So what I want to talk about is basically a little bit of the direction of the show. As you guys have been noticing, I'm doing this solo. As you can, I do have guest co-hosts come in every so often, and I fully intend to do that. But G Plus was, Google Plus was great. I missed Google Plus days. I really enjoyed Google Plus days. But as people know, I'm an agnostic. I'm not converting to Christianity. I'm not becoming a believer. So anybody who came over here thinking that, sorry. The new people to my channel, I'm not becoming Christian. I'm not becoming Muslim. I'm not becoming religious. I'm not becoming a believer. I don't believe the argumentations by Christians and Dark Dawkins and Trey Jadlow, somebody mentions. Trey Jadlow, I've had Trey Jadlow on my channel before. I'm quite familiar with Trey Jadlow. And he also seems to run a script. He does. But his script's a little bit different than Dark Dawkins, but I mean, it's the same dishonest presuppositional apologetics. When you start with the foundation of a dishonest approach to a discussion, then automatically your script is probably not going to be a fair script. So there's different types of people running script, but just running a script for a fair argument, I don't have an issue with whatsoever because you've done these a million times, and so you're probably going to have very similar answers to very similar questions. But anyways, like I said, the preceptors it's just mind blowing how they don't understand how dishonest their approach is. But as an agnostic, I am in the camp of non-believer, and even though I don't want to promote any specific ideology, I do want to help atheists become better at their arguments. And so I've started something on my other channel, my personal channel, called Learning About Atheism. And it's a playlist, and it's going to be about epistemology, philosophy. It's going to be about the things that we've talked about for a very long time back in the day with Floyd FP will recognize, and I think you'll like the series, about justifications, about logical fallacies, about belief versus knowledge. And they're not long episodes, and I'm trying to keep them short for a reason, but basically they tackle some of the misconceptions I think atheists have when it comes to epistemology, and it's tailored toward atheism. However, it doesn't promote atheism. I want to make it very clear because people think that I'm an atheist, and I'm not, and I'm not changing my position on that. And so I want to make it very clear to the people out there, saying that I'm promoting atheism. I don't promote theism or theism. What I do is I try to explain them. And there's a huge difference. And I think that when you have something that is common to both theists and atheists, such as reason, logic, epistemology, knowledge, in these concepts, if it helps the atheist with their arguments, it also helps the theist. So it's not really choosing one side or the other. It's that I think that all sides benefits. That doesn't mean I don't tear apart theist arguments either, but this series isn't for that. This series is basically to help the non-believer, because the theists will bring up these concepts all the time, and they do so a lot of times sophistically, and they do a lot of it rhetoric and negative rhetoric, and I just see the atheists get caught up on that. And so I'm hoping that this series will help alleviate that. And I've had a lot of positive feedback so far. Most of the comments from people that know philosophy are like, this is good so far. Tonight I will be talking about the difference between what theists mean by accounting from justification, because I think they conflate them. I don't know if it's willful or not. I can't get inside their head, but there's a huge difference between what they mean by how do you account for something as opposed to how do you justify. And there are some dishonest Christians out there that will go after atheists that don't understand the difference, because the difference, while vast, they don't understand. And so I think when the atheist gets wrapped up in the discussions, they're not answering the question that's being asked, because the question that's being asked is not the question that should be being asked for the particular statement that the atheist has made. What I mean by that is that the atheist will say something, and then somebody will say, well, how do you justify that? And then the atheist will give a justification, and that's not what the theist is asking. The atheist is saying, well, how do you account for that? which is a completely different question. And they're miswording it in the form of justification. And so that's what I'm going to be talking about on my primary channel tonight. If you're not subscribed, there's just my name, Steve McRae. You can find it. Just type in Steve McRae #atheism. But people have noticed I'm doing a lot of shorts and other things, and I'm putting the hashtag atheism in my post a lot. And so people thinking that I'm siding with the atheist more. And in some ways I am. I'm not denying that. But just because I'm putting atheism in the hashtag doesn't mean that I'm an atheist channel. And I do not want to be branded as an atheist channel. Non-believer, yes. Even though, my channel is listed on Feedspot as an atheist channel, I've made it very clear that my channel is a non-belief channel, and I will continue to be a non-belief channel. But by doing so, non-belief includes atheism. I should say that atheism includes non-belief. Non-belief doesn't necessarily include atheism. I had that wrong. Sorry. And this is ubiquitous in philosophy. Atheism is a subset of non-belief. So all atheists are non-believers, but not all non-believers are atheists. So yeah, I guess I should say that. So non-belief includes atheism. Well, non-belief as a set includes atheism, but atheism itself doesn't include the entire set of non-belief. There we go. That kind of worded better. Yeah, Floyd, you're exactly right, and that's what I'll be talking about. Floyd says account for merely means have a causal explanation for, and that's what I'll be talking about, because that's what they're asking for. They're looking for a causal explanation of why something happens. And that why can be a lot of different meanings behind that based upon the Aristotelian four causes. And so I agree with Philip. Floyd and I think, really do agree with each other wholeheartedly on a lot of these topics. And he has a profound understanding of them. And so I really appreciate his feedback when I have these types of videos on my other channel to talk about epistemology and to help the atheists become better at atheist argumentation. But that's exactly right, Floyd. And so that's what I'm going to be talking about. But as far as like the Non-Sequitur Show, I'm going to be bringing in guests, of course. I have people that want to talk about specific topics. I will still be talking about flat Earth, and I will still be, against it, of course. I'll still be doing evolution. I got something in the works with that. But I can't put out the volume that I had before, and because I'm doing this solo, it's a little more difficult. But unfortunately, I do want to see the channel stay alive. I still want to see the channel have interest for people. And so far, I think we've done that. And those who want to be a co-host for a particular episode, I'm completely fine with that. I've got a lot of people, but unfortunately, most people I know are in different time zones. So it makes it not conducive to having a 5 o'clock p.m. program. So I'd have to change it to maybe like 3 o'clock Pacific time. Because the people that I really want, the people that really want to join, they're mostly in UK, Australia, But yeah, so Tal says he loves the new content lately, and I appreciate that. Like I said, I really am trying to put forth interesting stuff, and I thought the last couple episodes were amazing. I loved the discussions having, to do with the state of the debate when it comes to apologetics. I had two amazing guests on, Sygart, who's a friend of mine that I respect, Eric Hernandez, who's a friend of mine who I respect, and I would like to have those kind of conversations. They're not contentious, and I get that. I'm not going to bring in the crowd as a dumpster fire would necessarily bring in. But don't think for a second we're not going to have dumpster fires. It's going to happen. I am looking, though, for theists that want to join, that want to talk about evolution, logic, epistemology, young earth creationism. And I have talked to many of them, but the ones I'm getting, I'm trying to find a little higher quality. I'm just going to put it out there. I'm not trying to sound demeaning. But even the dumpster fires for the low quality are still fun, and I still want to have them. But I just want a little bit more, and when I have somebody of a higher quality, young earth creationist, then I obviously need to bring in a guest, because we're talking about things on a level that, I don't have the expertise by any means to talk about. On a general level, sure, I can talk general biology and general science and things of that nature. But on the technical level, I would have to have an expert come in. And so that needs to be more planned. And since I'm doing this by myself, nobody's helping me on the show. Except, Reds, but that's moral support. But I do want to have open panels as well. Hi, Free Thinker. And I'm just not going to be an open panel today anyways, but I just want to get my thoughts across about the direction of the show and ask for your guys' input on it. Let me know, some subjects you think that might be interested. If you know people, let them know that, I will be doing the show. And I will be doing many different versions of the show to see what works. Is my Okay, I just look at my chat, make sure it's normal. Hi, Iron Terrier. But yeah, like I said, I'm really more interested in the philosophy talk on my main channel than I am, having discussions like flat Earth stuff. It gets repetitive, but I still want to do them. But that's the direction of the show. I am a non-believer. I will continue to be a non-believer. I just don't want people to associate me with the atheist community because they are just as bad as some of the other communities. I find them to be morally bankrupt on a lot of their argumentation. I find them to be approach is dishonest. I find they're outright lying to people about what atheism is understood of as the belief there's no God in the academic literature, and so I don't want to be associated with that. Doesn't mean I don't want to be associated with atheists, because I respect a lot of atheists. I am a supporter of atheists for liberty. Some people like them, some people don't, but I like the fact that they're promoting secularism, and I respect secularism. I do support the Satanic Temple, even though I'm not a member, but I understand their agenda, and I wholeheartedly agree with their agenda. People have known that I tend to Satanism, and what I mean by that is I do support groups like the Satanic Temple that want to do these things. It doesn't mean I support the religion of Satanic Temple, because I'm not religious and I'm not a Satanist, but I do understand why Satanic Temple does what they do. So my channel will be geared to something along those lines. And so I also don't want to scare off the Christians going, Steve supports the Satanic Temple, he's an evil person. I mean, if you think that you don't understand the Satanic Temple. So... But I do appreciate skepticism, but again, I think the online version of skepticism is watered down. I think that, of course, there's two types of skepticism. There's the analytical philosophy type of things of skepticism, which is divided into two camps: academic skepticism and Pyrrhonian skepticism. And the academic skeptic says, we don't know what we don't know. How can we have knowledge? Because we just don't know if we can have knowledge. And the Pyrrhonian skeptic says we don't know, we can't have knowledge. It's just because we can never know what we don't know. It's just we can't have it. So there's no such thing as knowledge. It's more of a radical form of skepticism. But that's not what the average atheist means by skepticism. What they mean is doubt. They mean critical analysis of a particular proposition, skeptical reasoning. And I'm all supportive of that. This is why I'm against tarot cards. I'm against astrology. I think that astrology and tarot cards are absolutely BS. I think that ghost hunting is BS, even though I can understand why people have the mindset for it. I once did too. So I'm not against it. I think they really do believe that it's ghosts, but there's problems with that. Is like, how do you know what you're actually even detecting? How do you know what the properties of ghosts even are? Everything we've ever learned about ghosts is stipulative. 100% of what we know about ghosts, if they exist or they don't exist, whatever the concept, is stipulative. We ascribe certain properties to ghost. We have no idea what a property would be a ghost, because we've never done any kind of scientific analysis of what a ghost would be. Everything you've learned about ghost is stipulative. Everything you learned about homeopathy is stipulative. Everything you learned about tarot cards and astrology is stipulative. Everything. And so, and the same thing about God, I believe that. I believe that what people think they know about God is stipulative. It's been told to us by people. It's been read by somewhere. Now, people want to say that that's been, the Word of God, and so when they read the Bible, they're reading the Word of God. That's still stipulative. They're just asserting that, So you're still no matter what you believe about the Bible, it's still man's writing somehow. They wrote this down. It was man that did the writing. It was them as the instrument that God did or didn't use. And so you're reading the writings of man, and you can argue that it's influenced by God, whatever, but man is fallible. And whenever you have man in the mix, there's going to be mistakes. We already know there's errors in the Bible. The Bible is not infallible. The Bible is certainly not inerrant. We know there's issues with the Bible's attestations. So the Bible I was going to say Bible literist. The Bible literist and the Bible infallibilist, I think they really don't have a ground to stand on. But of course they're out there. Iron says, what about aromatherapy? I have no issue with aromatherapy if you're using aromatherapy for just calming, relaxing. Is aromatherapy going to cure anything? No, not at all. But if you just wanted to, we have incense here. My roommate burns incense. I like the smell. If she thinks it wards off things, okay, more power to her. But, she knows that's not my belief. But it smells good. If people want to do sage, whatever. I like the smell, but I don't think it's going to ward off evil influences, right? Yeah, somebody says, don't tell my girlfriend astrology is garbage. Well, I mean, like I said, somebody ask them, I tell them, right? I mean, I'm not going to go out of my way to go to each person who believes in astrology and say, look, you believe in bunk. I'm not a evangelist in that nature. But if somebody asks me, hey, Steve, why do you believe astrology is bunk? We can have that discussion, right? Floyd says, what do you mean ghosts have hidden my car keys a number of times? I can't account for my missing keys. Yeah, by ghost, right? How did this happen? Well, ghost did it. And that's what I'm going to be talking on my main channel in probably about an hour from now, 2 hours from now, maybe 3 hours. And sometime tonight. Just head over there, hit notifications, and wait for it. But it's exactly that. What do they mean by an accounting? Why did this happen? Why do we have something from nothing? Why do we believe what we believe? Why does the atheist believe there's no God? But I don't hold the belief there's no God, at least in the metaphysical, global sense. I do reject the Christian God on multiple different reasons. But, when I talk about philosophy, I'm talking about in the global sense, not the local sense. And I've made it very clear on that for God knows how long. The God that may or may not exist. So when I have a very well-formed, I think, coherent position by years of talking about these topics. So when people say that you're a local atheist, okay, that's fine. But I'm also a local theist because they mean the same thing. I've already proven this in logic. Local atheism is local theism, which is agnosticism. Logically, they're the same exact positions. And I'm sorry for those who don't agree, but the logic, until you can show the logic's wrong, which you can, I don't think, they are the same position. Epistemologically speaking, no, I will agree or grant that, but I'm not talking about epistemology. I'm not using an Euler diagram. I'm using a Venn diagram to show that they're logically equivalent. But so that's really meaningless to say somebody's a local atheist. So what? I'm a local atheist towards Zeus too. I believe there's no being called Zeus. But as far as an omnipotent being that's all-encompassing of reality, which may or may not be the Christian God. I definitely don't think it is. But if something exists that has some kind of attentional states, that's my agnosticism. That's what I hold to fence sitting. And yes, lack of belief atheism is fence sitting. I hate to break it to you. Some people out there still haven't got that message yet, but it's pretty well been demonstrated ad nauseum. And I think a lot of atheists have come to that conclusion as well. And they're like, okay, we're going to bite the bullet on this one. Steve's right. Lack of belief atheist, lacktheist is a fence sitter. And crystal, another one, like Iron says crystals. Yeah, about crystal healing. I was all into crystals at one day, and I realized it was all like pendulum. Using a pendulum for a crystal was all my hand motion, ideomotor effect, and stuff like that. And I recognize that now. I believe that very strongly. I don't think crystals have any special powers other than the fact they're amazing what they can do in physics. I was watching a video on that very thing about how they made a blue diode. I don't know how old this video is. I don't remember. But if you guys, it's not very long. It's from potassium. And I think it only came out a couple weeks ago. But I was fascinated by it because, I understand how diodes work. I mean, I've been around diodes since I was 12 years old probably, or younger. I mean, like I said, I got my radio communication license when I was 13. So I knew what a diode was. I knew how a diode worked. I recognize how a germanium or a xenon diode work. In the avalanche region. I understood NP regions. I didn't know how they were made, but I understood the basic concepts of what they meant by hole flow and electronic flow. But it was kind of funny because for the longest time, they only had red and green diodes. And they needed blue because with RGB, you can make any color. You can make these, matter of fact, my ring lamp here, something like that. It's these little diodes in there that produce white light. But with a blue diode, you can make large LCDs and it just revolutionized the industry. Matter of fact, the discovery was worth billions, but it was all because a scientist in Japan took a different approach. He took the approach that everybody thought was not the right way to go, and he was able to make his own way to develop these blue LEDs. And I just thought that was fascinating because that's based on crystal lattices, right? It's based upon the properties of the crystal that allow for electrons to jump these bands, and while they're jumping these bands, they produce a photon because they release energy. So whenever you release energy in an atom, it has to go somewhere, and that energy is in the form of a photon, which has a specific wavelength. And unfortunately, because of the way physics is, red and green are much easier to produce that photonic energy because of the band gap. But blue light is much more difficult and required much more different way of thinking of how to configure the depletion region in the middle of the NP. And this was, I was fascinated by this particular video. I don't know if you saw it or interested in it, but it was really interesting. But do they think they can heal? No, not at all. Right? I don't think they have any power to do that because again, that'd be stipulative. Like what makes hematite good for blood? Who decided this? What powers of the cosmos decided this? Now, somebody can argue it's a brute fact. We can't explain it. Okay, fine. No, I mean, I can't fault them for that. I really can't. If you want to think it's a brute fact and it is the way the universe is, fine. The problem is there's no scientific evidence that can demonstrate that. If it's a brute fact of the universe, we should be able to scientifically demonstrate that. And every single study that has ever been done on any of these things has been not just inconclusive, but it doesn't work. The amazing James Randi was famous for that, about debunking these things, because once you had controlled experiments where these charlatans, either charlatans or people just really believe that just didn't understand the science, and they believed, and that's fine. There's people out there, but there are also charlatans that actively tried to mislead these people. But James Randi was brilliant by knowing how to do these things, knowing what the methods they were using, and showing that even if you believe something, your belief might be false. Dowsing, for example, or crystal healing, because or telekinesis or telekinetics or psychic ability, all this stuff over and over and over again through experimentation has been shown not to exist. Now, can they say conclusively it doesn't exist? No, because it's not impossible. But it's by the preponderance of the evidence by priors, you can definitely believe and justify that belief that it doesn't exist. Like, I believe, telekinesis doesn't work. I believe that astrology doesn't work. That's my belief. When somebody asks me for that justification, I can give it. When they ask for, like I said, some people are asking more of an accounting for my belief foundationally, and that goes into the whole precept argument, and that's why it's dishonest, because the precept is asking for an accounting, not a justification. And let me ask Floyd on that. Floyd, do you agree or think that one of the aspects of presuppositional apologetics, and I do mean like the online version, I know Van Til has a little more advanced version, but Van Til still believes that no atheist can have any types of reason without the God in a coherent system. And that's what he's arguing. So he believes that atheists can reason, but they're not consistent and coherent in their reasoning because they don't have the foundation that is necessary, in his opinion, which is the foundation of God as a properly basic belief, if you're talking about Reformed epistemology in the Plantinga sense. So I deny that outright, of course. But do you agree that that's what they're really asking for? They're asking for, how do you have an accounting for your justification, which is, to me, dishonest, because you don't have to have an accounting for your justification to have a justification for your belief. You don't have to do it. That's not part of the justification process. I mean, sure, it would help, it adds to the justification if I can have an accounting, but it's not necessary. Same thing with knowledge. How is it that you have to explain every nuance of everything to have knowledge? Because you just have this infinite regression of justification and infinite regression to get some kind of primal causality. But that's not what you're doing when you try to justify belief or knowledge. You don't need certainty. You don't need, a primal cause, first cause. Iron Charter says there's a YouTuber that thinks water and plants that have memory. What do you think of that, Steve? Yeah, I've of course seen all that. No, I don't believe it. I do believe, panpsychism, which would be the belief that everything has some kind of conscious particles to it, would resolve a lot of things. Don't get me wrong. It would resolve a lot, or at least help to resolve a lot of the mind body problem. But again, there's no, especially when you're talking about plants and water, there's zero evidence for that. Zero evidence. The guy that came up with that was I believe a Japanese quack, if I'm not mistaken. But the same thing when they had Kirlian photography, right? Do you remember back in my day, because I'm old, they had Kirlian photography, and this was a big rage among the New Agers. And it was basically, if you have a leaf, you can put the leaf on photographic plate and take a picture of it. And you see these coronal discharges when you pass a current through the plates with the differential in voltage. And they would do an experiment where they would cut the leaf in half and then take a picture, a photograph again. And all of a sudden, you would still just see the same leaf. And they were like, okay, this proves vitalis, energy, life energy. This proves there's more than just physicality. But then smarter people than them said, no, wait a minute here. We need to control the variables here. And so what they did was, after they cut the leaf, they wiped the plate. Because what happened was the moisture from the leaf had a residual effect on the plate. And that's what was causing the coronal discharge on the missing part of the leaf. Curling photography is real, don't get me wrong. You do get ionic discharges. You do get plasma discharges because of the setup. That is true. But they showed that, no, it doesn't show the life force. And now somebody could, an ad hoc explanation, somebody could say, well, you're wiping away the life force. No, you can see moisture on there. They know there was moisture and the other thing. They know there was oil and other things. They know this. And if it doesn't in direct contact with the plate, then you're not going to get that. But then again, you're probably not going to get coronal discharge either. So Floyd says, not quite. Okay, Precept will ask for a rational justification from their antithesis while they're simply often an account for. Well, that's kind of what I mean, though. I mean, but they're asking for a rational justification, but they're basing that upon why. Why is there a justification? So account for says causal explanation. Yes, where rational justification, reasons to adhere to logical inference of why you believe it's true. And yeah, but there's a difference there, though. And you don't have to give a logical inference of why you believe what you believe as part of your justification, because your justification can be non-inferential. It can be, but a justification is not required to be inferential. But the accounting that the Christian preceptor is asking for is a causal explanation, rather than non-causal epistemological justifications for any kind of rational dostastic inference, so to speak, if I'm speaking Floyd's language. Would you agree with that, Floyd? Beautiful Me says, hiya, Steve. Just want to stop by and support. Thank you, Beautiful Me. Smash that like, Tal says. Iron says, I love that experiment. What a debunk of the soul. Yeah, well, it doesn't... It lends evidence that there's no such thing as a soul or life force because of priors. I know that a lot of Christians, will argue there's a soul, but, unfortunately, I have not seen such a thing. I have no priors on that. And so if you're just going to relate the soul to the consciousness, then you're just making a semantic substitution and you're not actually showing that the mind can exist sans the brain. And I have had just a discussion on that not too long ago on my other channel on, the mind-body connection and source physicalism versus property dualism, which they're not contentious to each other. I think they go hand in hand with each other, versus source dualism, which I don't accept. Property dualism, which I don't accept, and source idealism, which I don't accept. Yeah, Floyd says, yes, you got it. Thank you. See, this is what I love about people that know what they're talking about. I can get validity and verification if I'm heading in the right direction or not. Somebody says, look, you're way off base, then I'm like, okay, maybe I need to really rethink my entire premises on these things, right? Belief revision. But because I've spent so much time talking about and reading about these topics, that, I think I have a handle enough to go, okay, this is where I'm coming from. What do you think of it? And give you my views on it. That's what I'm doing on my other channel. And when I have somebody like Floyd, who's really well-versed in these types of things, go, yeah, that's basically it. You got it. Then I feel a little more secure that I'm not out to lunch, because I have people responding to me and they're just completely out to lunch on things, right? I'm still arguing with people about 0.9 number repeating, which I'm going to have a hangout on sometime next week. I want it, or maybe on the weekend. But I'm still going to be talking about that, because that to me is an objective thing, that if you can't understand 0.99 repeating equals 1, which is an objective moral fact, just mathematical fact, how are you going to be able to accept anything else that's subjective? I'm still talking about people about objective morality. Yeah, I do tend to objective morality as a non-believer, because when I get people arguing objective morality to me is false, most of the time they don't know what the heck they're talking about. They conflate objective morality with moral absolutism. They conflate non-cognitivism with cognitivism. They conflate normative versus meta-ethics. And it's just like, I don't know what your rejoinder is here. You're not giving me a reason why my belief that objective morality can exist is flawed. It doesn't mean that all morality is objective, but just means that some moral facts are objectively true. And I believe that. And I know from experience that most atheist philosophers, and even the ones I've talked to, most of them do tend to that. It's not anything, strange. It's pretty normative. Doesn't mean you have to be, but I think the more educated moral philosophers are going to take certain positions. And I'm not saying one is right or the other, just the direction you want to go, and everybody has their different frameworks. There are error theorists out there that make a lot of sense. There are, even more non-cognitivists out there that make sense, but I just think that you have problems with any kind of non-cognitive position, because it was called the Frege-Geertz embedding problem. I don't know how you get to utilize morality effectively in an argument if you can't embed something like an expressive specificism. If I just feel like this is the wrong thing, if I say, boo, stealing is bad, how do you make an argument for that? It's not propositional. If I say, don't steal, how is that propositional? It's a directive. How is that propositional? But if I say, stealing is wrong, is a true proposition, now I can use it in propositional argumentation. See? That's called the Frege-Each embedding problem. And we're going all over the place in this particular stream. I apologize, but welcome to the Non-Sequitur Show. That's what we do. But every so often, I like these types of live streams. I mean, you know what? I might even do this more often. I just maybe once a week or something, even if I got nothing else to talk about, just do a Non-Sequitur live stream and pick a topic and just hang out with you guys. Floyd says, divine command theory is subjective form of morality, yet Christians will deny it. I've always argued that, Floyd. Now, I have seen people argue an objective version of divine command theory, but I don't understand their argumentation of how they get there, and then maybe they might be right. I'm not saying they're not. There might be an objective moral framework from divine command theory, maybe. But as it stands, divine command theory, as in the literature, is almost always ethical subjectivism. They're synonymous terms. Well, not synonymous, but I mean, one's a form of the other, you know. Kimawaki says, Frege-Each is my favorite embedding problem. Yeah, it's one of mine. I mean, there's minor. I mean, not minor. There's other ones. I mean, the Quine thesis. You know, Quine's indispensability thesis is to me some kind of embedding problem as well. You know, how do we use mathematics? How do we use numbers in science? It's not so much embedding into, you know, a propositional argument, but you know, it is. I mean, same thing. It is a propositional, or it's logic. So yeah, it would be embedding. I don't think anybody's really referred to it that way, maybe, but I could sure see it as an embedding problem. I mean, they would have to adopt some kind of Platonic realism, which I'm okay with. I do switch between nominalism and Platonic realism often. I'm like, well, yeah, nominalism sometimes makes sense, but so does Platonic realism. Dang, there's a tension between the two. And they are kind of, you know, they're mutually exclusive, but you can switch your philosophy from one to the other. You don't have to die on one hill, because it's just a framework. It's just it's just a thought process. Anyways, like I said, I just wanted to do a short stream. I want to keep it short. I want to keep it under 45 minutes so people can watch it. I do appreciate all the new people coming over from other channels. All my metrics are going quite a bit higher on this particular channel. Notifications are weak. You only get 3 notifications a day on YouTube, and so if I do a post or if I do a short, then you don't get notifications for the show. And right now, I've already done 2 shorts and a post in the last 24 hours, so this notification doesn't go out. People are not getting notification of this particular stream, so I don't expect it to have many views. So you got to be cognizant of that. Oh, NGC Studios out there. Thank you, NGC Studios. By all means, man, message me one of these days, man. I just mentioned your name, by the way. You know, if this is Dr. Jones, I would love to do something with you. I really, 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 really would. I've been trying for years to get you on the program, and I've been on yours many times, and I'd love to come on again. But I don't know if you email people or whatever, but get a hold of me somehow. I mean, you got my email. I know you do. But I love your content as well, although I haven't seen you much on it, so I wish you and your wife good health. And yeah, I haven't forgot about your show. Play golf. Dude, you do not want me to play golf, man. My handicap is in like the triple digits probably or something like that. I took golf in college and I was so bored with it. I couldn't handle it. I dropped it, and then I took it again and I dropped it again. I couldn't deal with it. It was just so ridiculously boring to me. So, and you're not even in California. Freg says, Floyd says, there's a problem called the problem of God and the abstract objects that deals with God relates to abstract objects. For example, did God create abstract? Yes. And I have a little, it's a very small book that somebody sent me, online book, PDF. I would certainly call it a book, but it's on abstract objects. And I think that's one of the things they deal with. And we were just talking the other day in Discord about what abstract objects would entail. And some people just don't really understand what metaphysics means by abstract objects and how they don't have a spatial temporal component and they have no causality. They're causally inert. But that doesn't mean that physicalism and materialism disallow them. Just because something is abstract doesn't mean materialism is wrong. And this is where I think a lot of these newer crops of Christian apologists up there that I'm seeing are making a fundamental mistake. They think that if materialism is true, you can't have abstract objects like the mind or numbers. And that's not what materialism is saying. I think it's a really fundamental misunderstanding of materialism. Materialism just states that everything has an underlying physical cause, as far as, why there is something, to have the ability to have these abstract causations or abstract thoughts and abstract numbers. But to the Platonic realists, they exist independent of mind. That's what it means to exist independent of mind. You don't need a mind for them to exist. You need a mind to apprehend them and to contemplate them and to think about them. And I've seen people recently conflate those, and it's not the same thing. Same thing with objective morality. I see a lot of people conflate that. They're like, well, you need a mind to even begin to apprehend a moral fact, if there is or isn't one, or you're to apprehend what they mean by morality. These are all mind dependent. Therefore, there's no such thing as objective morality, because objective morality is mind dependent, and that confuses the concepts. That's not what is meant by mind independent in objective morality. It just means there are objective moral facts that are not contingent upon any other people's minds having an input on it, a bias. Nor do you need anybody else's minds to discover that moral fact. For all of x equals x, the law of identity is going to be true regardless if there's external minds that exist or not. I can independently discover that. I don't need you to tell me it. I can realize that something is itself. I can figure that out all on my own, which is essentially the law of identity. It's objectively true. That's what it's mean by that. It doesn't mean that I need it's just because I need my mind to understand that all of x equals x. That's true. I need my mind to understand the law of identity. I don't need my mind for that law to exist independently of my mind. It'll always be the case that x equals x. It'll always be the case of something in itself, regardless if humans exist or not. We just have a way to describe that particular aspect of the universe by formulating it using some kind of mathematical notation. But the fact of the universe is that something is itself. That fact does exist, regardless of whether we exist or not. In all possible worlds, it's true. So, I know I'm getting real deep in philosophy, which is something we normally don't do on the Non-Sequitur Show, but I want to give you a taste of what I'm doing on my primary channel. For those who don't know, I even have my personal channel, not my primary, but my personal channel. That's what we do. Some Christians will essentially claim abstract as supernatural. I've seen that, but it's rare. But yeah, which is not the same thing. Numbers are not supernatural. But I had somebody accuse that the other day. Well, if numbers exist, they're supernatural. No, they're not supernatural. They're not even preternatural. They're not above the natural. They're part of the natural world. They don't violate any known laws of physics to exist, even in a Platonic sense. Floyd says, did you know that William Lane Craig is now anti-realist when it comes to mathematical objects? No, I did not. So what is he? Is he a nominalist? Because I always thought that William Lane Craig was a mathematical Platonist. NGC Studio says, in Hebrew, though, God is but an abstraction of an idea which we orient ourselves to create a functional society. It has a pure abjad is used to leave the door open. And a lot of people would probably agree with that God is a conceptual creation for man to want to explain the ultimate accounting. But I will argue that doesn't do that. And when I go do my stream tonight on my personal channel, I will make a case, or at least I will try to justify my position that positing God as the ultimate explanation does not explain anything. And I know that's a trope out there. I know a lot of people will say, well, I sound like every other atheist or non-believer out there. And I get that, but I think they're right on that. And I will tell you when I think the atheist is wrong. I will tell you when I think the atheist or a non-believer is putting out a bad argument. That is not a bad argument. I absolutely believe that they're right on that. Positing God does not explain anything. And it's a very simple, trope. I get that. But in this particular case, I think they're right on that. And I have reasons for that. I can justify that belief. Doesn't mean I can count for it, but I can justify it. He calls it neutralism, which is known as deflationary nominalism. New terms to me. I haven't heard either one before, man. I mean, I understand deflationary theories as a sense of the term, like deflationary theory of truth, but that's just saying that a statement like, it is true that snow is white deflates to snow is white. They're relating the same thing. You don't need the truth. It is the snow is white. By saying snow is white, you're putting forth a truth, or what you believe to be a truth. But Blessed be he. Hey, like I said, look, I'm looking for theists to come talk to me, whether on this channel or my other channel. So if you're a theist out there, leave a comment and let me know how to get a hold of you, or find me on Twitter. My main form of communication is Twitter or email, but I prefer Twitter. But either one, message me and, we'll have a conversation. I want to talk to more theists about this stuff, and I want to have more panel discussions, but I don't know what it is. They seem to be getting a little more timid lately. I don't know. A lot of them just don't want to talk. They're like, no, Steve's going to make fun of you. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to make fun of you. Unless you say something really stupid. But then if I say something really stupid, you can make fun of me, whatever. But I mean, I'm open to having these kinds of conversations, but just the whole God conversation of trying to convince somebody that Christianity is true bores me. But that doesn't mean we can't talk about why somebody believes what they believe. I'd rather look at the reasons for why people believe and undercut their justifications rather than trying to convince them that their belief is false, because that really doesn't happen much. It's rare. You have to get past that entrenchment effect. So, Brian Stevens out there, same thing. I love having you on, and I think you're great at these topics of discussions. So let me know if you want to come on, not this particular episode, but let me know in the future. But definitely get a hold of me. Blessed be he. Would you like to do that? Would you like me to set up a time to have this kind of open panel like this, and maybe be on the Non-Sequitur Show, to have you guys on, and we're just doing an open panel discussion? I might be able to do it this weekend even. It would have to be at night, obviously, but I'm free Saturday night, Sunday. I think I got plans with somebody. No, wait, Monday I got plans with somebody. A friend of mine, face-to-face stuff. Sound good? All right, I'm going to wrap this up. I don't think there's anything else I really want to go into. Like I said, I got the gist of what I wanted out. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Please leave me a like and subscribe. I appreciate all the people that are subscribing, and check the description, because some people said they found that they've been unsubscribed through YouTube, even though YouTube says they don't do that, but whatever. But I got to tell you, like 2/3 of my viewers are not subscribed to the channel, which is common in YouTube. It really is. But I'd like to try to get that number down. If you watch this particular episode, you watch any episode, just subscribe. I mean, I appreciate it, man. And we'll have more of these discussions. But I mean, I want to get a hold of this guy, Blessed be he, because he obviously wants to talk about his light and kingdom and all that stuff. And I'm okay with that, but save it for a different episode. If you broadcast later, it'll be on my other channel. So it'll be on Steve McRae, and you get the notification. I haven't done it in that channel today as far as posting anything on the community tab or any videos. So that notification should go out. And it's still going to be part of my playlist on learning about atheism, but I probably won't be doing that till 8 o'clock Pacific time tonight. So, okay. So sound good? All right. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for watching, and thank you for watching the Non-Sequitur Show on the live stream. Well, sub to it, Hula. Well, sub to it. And leave a comment and like. They also help the algorithm, and we'll see you later. Follow me over on Steve McRae, and like I said, let me know what you think of my series on learning about atheism, because I really do think it helps atheists, and I have had a lot of positive feedback. And the atheists out there, they're not interested in it. You can leave a comment too, but I'm really not going to have much of a response if you're just going to have these very basal, trivial, puerile type responses, like, here's a dictionary, or, learn epistemology better. Okay, what do you want to teach me about it? So with that, guys, we'll talk to you later. See you over there. See you tonight. Peace.